is at Lava Street, 176 Lava. So this is the crowd for the second part of the North Greenpoint Construction Task Force. So this is the Lincoln's already here, so they're about to start. And this is. I just saw it on his Instagram stories. I was like, all right, I'm come out. I'm bored. Oh, come on, see this is about. Lake is right there.
Good evening, everyone. This works. How are we all doing? Good to see so many faces out here tonight on a Wednesday. And firstly, so for those who don't know me, my name is Lincoln Ressa. I have the privilege of being the council member here at Greenpoint. And I firstly just want to thank the Post-Office Center for opening up their doors to us like they always do. This is like truly one of the great community institutions. Would folks be willing to give the Post-Office Center a round of applause? So in partnership with Assemblymember Dr. Gallagher, Senator Kristen Gonzalez, and Congressmember Dave Velasquez and their representatives, we've started the North Greenpoint Construction Task Force. And that's because, as everybody in this room knows very well, we have major construction projects, it feels like on almost every block. Indeed, Community Board 1 had more new housing starts last year in 2023 the second most new housing starts of any community district around the city of New York. And a lot of that housing is concentrated in northern Greenpoint, north of Greenpoint Avenue. And when you have a big construction project going on near your house, it can cause major impacts. Demolition, noise from demolition and pile driving is extremely disruptive. The trash buildup, vibrations you experience in your home, see roadway space taken away by construction projects, making it dangerous to drive, lack of parking, or to cycle or walk around the neighborhood. So there are lots of challenging impacts that can come about from construction projects, but when you have 2 or 3 major construction projects within a block or 2 of one another, it really does compound on itself. And so what Emily and I and Lydia and Kristen wanted to do was to bring together the key city and state agencies that have oversight of these development projects to make sure that developers are following the rules and doing what they should be. And we wanted to bring together the developers themselves so that you could ask questions. And we didn't want to do these as one-offs with one developer meeting here and one developer meeting there. Instead, we wanted to bring everyone together because oftentimes project, the impacts of one project impact another. So before I kick it over to my colleagues in government, I just want to recognize the government officials that we have here tonight who took time out of their Wednesday evening to be with us and answer questions, so we really want to appreciate it. We really appreciate their presence. From the Department of Buildings, we have Deputy Borough Commissioner Ian King and Philip Arnold, who's our primary liaison for our offices and does a great job. And thank you, guys. I don't see Keith, but I think Keith Gray is coming from the Department of Transportation. Rhonda's on vacation this week, but hopefully we'll get Keith here. We'll certainly let you know. He told us he was coming. From the Department of Environmental Conservation, we have Jane O'Connell and Robbie Rivera. They're great. Robbie, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. From the Department of Environmental Protection, which deals with noise issues and water issues, we have Denise Hubbard, I saw her there, and Inspector James Musto. Thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate DP's partnership. And we also have representatives from a number of different developers. We're going to be introducing them later on, so they'll give brief updates. So I'll just go through to run a show. You're going to hear briefly from the other elected officials. We'll then hear brief updates from each of the developers who are here. They'll speak for 3 or 4 minutes about what's going on with their project, and then we'll take all your questions. There should be PowerPoint, handout presentations on everyone's table. If you don't have one, just raise your hand and somebody from our staff will join us. Oh, Keith Gray is here from the Department of Transportation. Thank you for joining us, Keith. And before I kick it to Emily, I just wanted to shout out staff, folks who are here from our offices. I see Miranda from Emily's team. I know Jasmine's here from Emily's team, and Kelly McCabe from my team is somewhere. They all know the ones. There she is. Thank you, Kelly. It's our teams that really do all the work in pulling this together, so I just really want to thank them for their hard work and making it possible. Without further ado, let me kick it over to our great assembly member, Emily Gallagher.
Hi everyone, thank you for making the time for this event, this regularly occurring event tonight. Dealing with these construction projects and trying to mitigate the harms for the residents who are living here, as well as facilitate cooperation between those different construction projects has been a really big part of what my office and my colleagues' offices have been doing. So it's really nice to have this partnership of all of the city and state agencies that are involved, as well as the developers. I think this is a really good model, and I'm hoping that we can continue to move things forward in a way that is helpful to everyone who lives here and helps to create like a more peaceful environment. I know it's very disruptive, as Lincoln really wonderfully displayed. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the feedback and hearing the current issues. I'm also excited that Senator Gonzalez is here as well, and Dan Wiley from the Congresswoman's office. I am having another event that I need to attend, so Miranda and Jasmine are here from my office to take any questions, to follow up on anything after, to do the work that my office does every day. So thank you very much, and I'm really, really pleased to see so many people participating. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Emily. And now, as Emily noted, we have Senator Christy Gonzalez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Councilmember Ressler, and Assemblymember Gallagher, and of course, Congresswoman in Glasgow's office for coming today and convening this meeting. It's really good to be here. My name is Kristen. I'm the state senator representing this part of the Greenpoint as well as parts of Williamsburg. And I actually have a funny story for all of you, and I feel like a little embarrassed, it's not my story to tell, but I have my committee director and counsel with us today, Elon, who is a Greenpointer, and is sitting and laughing in the front because he knows what I'm about to say. And it was the last time that we had this meeting. You know, it was a long meeting, had so many turnout just like this, so many passionate constituents, and Elon was not yet working for our office, but was interested in working for our office. And after hearing from all of you about all of your concerns and to see the quality of conversation, came up afterwards and said, I would love to work in an office that represents such engaged and passionate people. And so I hope, Elon's laughing. all of this to say, you know, the time that you spend here today not only benefits the larger community for folks who are affected by construction who can't join us tonight, but it is really inspiring and sets a standard that we actually hope to bring across our district, because as someone who represents a three-borough district with an incredible amount of construction, this type of community engagement, direct accountability, and feedback, I think should be the bedrock of how you do everything in this city. So we're certainly, it makes us better teams, it makes us a better neighborhood, makes us a stronger district. And so I really do want to extend deep gratitude for all of you spending your time here today. Of course, the developers who are here, the administrations that are here as well. We've heard some concerning things over our last meeting, just from our community affairs team, from constituents who have been affected by the high level of construction in the area. And so, you know, tonight is really to listen from all of you, but I do want to remind you all that even when we don't have these meetings, our office is here to listen. Please report anything that you're hearing, and we can reflect that feedback, and certainly are able to bring it back to the folks who are here tonight. So thank you again, and looking forward to the robust conversation tonight like we had last time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kristen. And just as the senator said, we're going to do our best to get quality answers to all of your questions and concerns tonight from city agencies and from the developers. But I promise you, each of our staff will be following up, our offices will be following up and making sure we get solutions and responsiveness on the issues that are identified tonight. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce District Director for Congresswoman Lydia Velasquez, Dan Weiler.
Anybody tonight, but I'm Dan Wiley, District Director for Congresswoman Lydia Velasquez. We have both sides of Newtown Creek in our district. I just came from our Sunnyside office. I remember last time I was here, it was quite a rain squall we had, and we were all trying to dry out down here. So it's different conditions. I know when there are development projects, there might be environmental impacts. Studies tend not to look at what else is going on at the same time. They might have separate, and this attempt to bring everybody together and actually have agencies and all the developers and community together to have a comprehensive look at what's going on is very important. So thank you so much to Councilmember Lynn Ressler and all our colleagues in government for putting this together. Looking forward.
Thanks so much, Dan. And we'd like to begin by just passing it over to the developers to hear brief updates from each of them, and then at the conclusion of their presentations, we'll start taking questions. We are going to do questions on note cards just to keep it simple, so we only have one microphone. So Kelly on my team is passing out note cards. If you need a note card, raise your hand. If you don't have a presentation or packet, raise your hand. I hope we have enough for everybody. I am now going to pass it over. We'll do one by one here. We'll start with 7787 Commercial Street. Ray Builders, somebody raise their hand? I don't know who's who. Ray Builders? Yep, Kelly, no? Ray Builders? No? Okay. You're here. Waterview Developer LLC? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Sorry about that, I'm sure they're on their way. 16 DuPont, Rockefeller Group, great.
Of course, hi, thank you for having us. My name is James Lee. I'm from the development team from the Rockefeller Group, joined with my colleague Jay Lee. He's from the design and construction team, and he's a lot smarter than I. So since we last saw you, I believe it was September, made a lot of exciting progress. We only have 5 stories left to work fully close. Oh, sorry. Can you hear everyone hear me okay? So we only have about 5 stories left till we're fully enclosed. Just a reminder, greenpoint is 16 DuPont, it's 381 units, 115 which are affordable, and we're hoping to get our last residential TCO in late spring, early summer next year. Thank you.
Thanks so much to the team from 16 DuPont and the Rockefeller Group. Next up, we have One Java, Lendlease. Great, thanks so much to Lendlease.
Hi everybody, thanks for making the time to be here today. My name is Leif Madi. I'm the Senior Vice President of Development at families, and my team and I are working on One Java, which is a waterfront development between Java and India. For those who may not know, we're delivering 834 units. 251 of these are affordable. What we're really proud of is our sustainability credentials. So this is the largest geothermal residential project in New York State, and I believe in the United States. And most of our geothermal work below ground is substantially complete. When the system is up and running, we will be reducing the carbon emissions from our building owing to heating and cooling by 53%. And it's really great that this is happening here in Greenpoint. Our current focus is superstructure. So I think we're getting ready to pour our 15th story. And then, we are working on the waterfront, which will have a sort of reimagined public domain with a new restaurant. And happy to take any questions from anybody during Q&A.
Thanks so much. And I know Linda Alexander had confirmed from Halcyon, is she here? Great job, Halcyon. Okay. I think everyone's been reading about how great a job they've been doing in Greenpointers. Thank you to Greenpointers for your great coverage. I did see representatives from Madison Realty. Thanks so much. From the Newport site.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sean Solomon from Madison Capital. I'm joined by my colleague from downtown. We work on the construction team at Madison. We are doing redevelopment of the Newport site, 65 and 75 DuPont Street. It is both the brownfield site and superfield site. 75 DuPont is the brownfield site, which we completed the remediation at the end of 2023. We achieved the track 1 and a certificate of completion. The 65 DuPont is a superfund site. We plan to finish foundation by Memorial Day, and we'll be topping up the building by Labor Day. It will be a total of 473 units and 143 affordable units. Thank you.
Okay, I think that covers the presentation, so I'm listening to the developers. Okay, do you have cards for me to? Okay. Okay, I think this is a question that we can give to DOT and DOB because I believe it's on your radars. So on Wharf Drive and Oak Street, there's a ditch that cars have gotten stuck in. Halcyon has been made aware of this issue as early as January 24th, yet this hazard issue persists. I know that we referred it to DOT, and I believe they referred it to DOB. Do you guys have an updated status on this? This is the hole in the ground that we talked about earlier this week, Keith? I don't know.
We did speak to our counterparts at DOT. Sorry about that. We did speak to our counterparts at DOB about that, but we don't have an update. We're waiting to hear from them. So hopefully we'll hear something by the end of the week.
Okay. Yeah, there's a hole in the ground that's been there for 3 months that we've been trying to get attention on.
It's been referred to DOB.
Okay. It's a little frustrating because we know that, I mean, I personally talked about it with folks in city government. So we'll follow up. Okay. We'd really like to see this addressed because this hole's been in the ground for 3 months. It's a substantial hole. It's a safety risk for the community, and we want to see it resolved. It's in the street.
And cars have already fallen in.
Cars are falling in. It's like a serious safety issue. DOT referred it to DOB. I don't know if you heard Keith's comment.
I did.
Okay. Okay. So Commissioner Bray we've talked about it with him, and he's brought it up with DOB. Okay. This is a noise question. So for the folks who are concerned about this, we promise we will get this resolved. We appreciate DOB's attention on it so that we can get this resolved quickly. and have proper enforcement against Halcyon for their failure to act. What are you doing to enforce noise ordinances at One Java? We have been open 6 days a week before 7 a.m., as early as 3 a.m., bringing vehicles in and working late nights and early mornings is disrupting our quality of life. DOB, can you help us on our response on this one? This is early morning noise before 7 a.m. as early as 3 a.m. Bringing vehicles and working late nights, early mornings, disrupting folks at One Java. Is this on your radar?
We don't allow work hours. So if they're doing that in violation of their AHPs.
What time does the after-hour variance begin at One Java?
If they're already, they start at 6 a.m.
Do you want to?
Why don't we start with Delta?
So the site does have an AHP. DOT requires oversized loads to be delivered overnight as needed, and our AHPs are full for that, and we are compliant. I'm not sure why I don't think it's on Friday at 3 a.m., but we can certainly look into that and report back.
So DOB is looking up the complaints now and seeing what they got on this. Well, what I would first encourage people to contact our office and call 311 with their noise complaints relating to One Java. Oh, thank you so much. Would encourage people to call 311 to make sure the violations are in the system and get into DOB. And to contact our office. We'll also follow up with limits. My understanding is that vehicles are permitted to come in for deliveries during off hours, but that's not subject to an after-hour variance. We do try to encourage developers as much as possible to limit that activity because it can be really loud when multiple trucks are coming in at 6 a.m. or 3 a.m. as the neighbor mentioned. So we really hope that we can limit as many trucks as are coming in outside of the traditional hours. You know, sometimes you don't control when a truck is coming from somewhere else. But as much as possible, we'd really like to try to limit that activity to the working hours for when you're permitted to be doing active work. So the after-hours variance begins at 6:30 a.m. at this site. So it's something that we can look at. Our offices will follow up with the department buildings to see if perhaps we can modify those hours to make it somewhat less disruptive for the community. So we'll definitely follow up on that for sure. Okay. We have a question for all developers, Lend-Lease in particular. Are you still employing non-union labor? What steps are you taking to ensure fair quality of life for affordable housing residents? How can you be held accountable? Halcyon 30 Wharf is another example of that. So I think it's two separate questions. First question is, I think let's go through all the developers. If you could confirm whether you're employing union labor or non-union labor. We'll start with Lend-Lease.
So our site, in line with most sites in New York, employs 30% union labor. As you may be aware, there have been conversations ongoing with the Union of Carpenters. That conversation has gone on for 2 years, and we have been working in good faith to arrive at an agreement. Most recently, our offer was a $20 million package of work, which represented a $7 million increase to our budget. Unfortunately, that was not agreed to, and so that conversation is on hold, and we'll see where that goes. But in line with other developers, 30% of the jobs on site are union.
And we'd like to ask other developers as well, if you could just confirm union labor, non-union labor at your site.
From 16 DuPont, our local shop in PLA for the project.
What's a PLA? What's a PLA?
Project labor agreement. Yeah, but we are abiding by the informal New York wage, average wage for the
Yes, so at DOR, we don't employ union labor, and we abide by HPD standards for prevailing wage.
Thanks so much. And so the second question, Halcyon confirmed that they were attending tonight and then didn't show up. Maybe they didn't want to take hard questions about the unacceptable conditions that the people at 40 Oak and 60 Wharf have been experiencing. But each of our offices, Congressman Velasquez, Senator Gonzalez, Assemblymember Gallagher, and I, we've been actively participating in the tenant association meetings there, working with tenants. We have HPD inspectors going out this week to deal with some of the water conditions, and we're going to continue to push to make sure the tenants are living in the conditions that they deserve. This is a question I'm going to move to the top. Can reps please explain acronyms and stop talking in alphabet soup? So that's my fault. I apologize. I get a little too comfortable in government speak. So let me try again. The Department of Buildings is here. The Department of Buildings is responsible for overseeing construction projects and safety of construction projects. So if there are most of the issues that we deal with at a construction site, DOB is the primary agency that has oversight. They are the main folks that are responsible for holding developers accountable for following the rules. We also have the Department of Environmental Conservation here. They are a state agency, and they're the folks that, at sites where we have serious environmental issues, provide oversight to make sure that the sites are being cleaned up properly. So they're here to make sure that a site like New Harbor, which is a state Superfund site, they're following the rules and that they're cleaning up the site to ensure our collective safety. We also have the Department of Transportation here, DOT, and our Brooklyn Borough Commissioner, Pete Bray. They're responsible for making sure that we're able to safely get around our neighborhood and oversee transportation projects in our community. So if there's impacts of a development project going out into the street and blocking part of the street, it's DOT, the Department of Transportation, that will approve that, and they'll review that. The Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, which we have in the back over here, they're responsible for the noise ordinance. So if there's really loud issues happening at a construction site, it's really the job of DEP inspectors to come out and assess, is the noise too loud, and does that need to be addressed? They're also responsible for water quality issues. So those are the two main areas that they have oversight here. So those are the agencies. I will try to spell out names and not talk in acronyms. I apologize. I've been messing that up. Okay. Next up, Commissioner Bray. What can DOT, Department of Transportation, do about trucks driving on normal roads, not truck routes?
So we try to encourage trucks to use local or through routes when they're doing deliveries, and that is what they usually do. And if they're off those routes, they can be enforced upon violating city code and code. However, they're allowed to go off truck routes to make deliveries. So if they have to go off a truck route, whether it's through or whether it's a local truck route, they're allowed to get off that route and go to wherever they need to go to make their deliveries. So the main thing that we do for our trucks is we work with both the trucking industry, we work with the Teamsters, we work with other industry groups to let them know about the rules in New York City, which are a lot different than what you would find in the rest of New York State and in the rest of the country, about how we govern trucks in the city, that they're following those rules. We work with the Garmin and other GPS companies about the rules in New York City so that they have that in themselves in their pockets, so the truck drivers know when they're driving, whether they're following the rules or not. And then lastly, we are trying to encourage cleaner trucks, or by the SAND program, by clean fuel program, and we're trying to get different last mile ways to lower the truck traffic in the city when the last mile delivery. So we understand well over 90% of the goods in New York City, they come by big trucks, and that's not gonna change anytime soon. But where they go from there to warehouse or Port Elizabeth, New York, or wherever they're coming from to New York City to the final delivery can be a smaller vehicle. We're trying to encourage that. So that's sort of the strategy we're employing.
Before you get too comfortable, I'm going to give you one more. The construction fence, and this is one that we talked about again yesterday. So Commissioner Bray is very gracious. He does a monthly call with my office. And so some of these issues are fresh in both of our minds because our monthly call was yesterday. The construction fence at the corner of the 30 Wharf site blocks visibility for bikes, cars, trucks. Can it be a normal chain link fence instead? So I'll start and give it to you. We have asked the developer to replace the fence. This request is outstanding now for many weeks, but we're continuing to push Halcyon to try to put a different fence in place, because basically when trucks are coming out, they can't see into the street, and bicyclists coming by on West by Quay here are just in a very dangerous position. We And I know Mr. Bray has started to think a little bit about redesign as well, and I don't know if there's any on that.
I would just say that, I can't say what the fence material may or may not can be, but we are looking to see if there's something else that can happen in Oak and West to see if we can improve visibility, or if we can improve the visibility, maybe make some alternatives to what's happening on the street because of the construction that's constricting both sides of West.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So this next question is a general one. What can we do if a construction site has late night permits every day? So basically, if a developer is operating outside of normal business hours, they need to go to the Department of Buildings and get approval for an after-hours variance called an AHD. Now, if you have concerns about a development site that is consistently operating late into the evenings or in the very early morning hours, call us. Call me, Kelly and I will follow up with the Department of Buildings and ask them to review, is this an appropriate after-hours variance? Is it really necessary for a developer to be doing work at 9 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning? And we'll do our best to try to work to make for more reasonable accommodations for neighbors. Now, as I mentioned, there are some things that can happen at development sites that are permitted outside of kind of their approved work hours, such as deliveries, like a truck coming in. But active construction work can only happen during the hours that the Department of Buildings approves. Is there anything you guys would like to add to that? And I would say DOB is really great at being responsive to us when we bring issues to them like this. They really care about addressing community concerns. And so when people are saying, hey, this developer is working until 9 o'clock at night, it's having a real impact on our community, they listen. And I just want to thank them for that, and I appreciate how responsive they are. So thank you both. Okay. I can't read this list yet, but I'm going to ask the person again. One job. Trucks are staging in the bike lane. This is dangerous to say the least. We have a 7-second commercial question first, but I will start with Leif, perhaps, who might be able to start on this, and we'll go to DOT if they have anything to add. So there's just a question about the truck staging in the bike lane.
It's something that when we notice it, we enforce and control. So obviously we can't tell the truck driver approaching our site what to do, but when they're there and if they're in violation, we tell them how they need to correct it immediately. So this is something that we don't endorse or support, or certainly don't request of you. And if you do observe it, please contact us through our email or contact any of the public officials. It's something we're very keen to hear about and request, and not something that we tolerate.
Every neighbor, every single day. What's also the school, too. And there's also the child center. Would you mind just thinking about
I think it's a very active intersection, and there are a lot of trucks. Some of them drive to our site, but I think the point you made is some of them are also not ours and not in our control, so it's not a solely one job issue. It's broader than that.
I think for the cooperation, what they're saying, that's exactly what they're supposed to do, is like tell the drivers, you can always control the drivers. That, for a lot of receivers, you don't control like the driver behavior, but once they notice bad behavior, then speaking to them, that's really what we ask for. That's what we think is the best thing to do. I will say if a work site doesn't have enough room or something that needs to change the stipulations we have for them, we can look into that and work with them on that too. If there's something that we need to help them with.
Great. Thank you both. When Lend-Lease has brought me and the other elected officials out to tour the site, they've laid out plans for how they're trying to mitigate trucks entering onto the West Street bike lane. You know, this is a major concern. When cyclists have to go out of the bike lane into traffic, it's really dangerous. And so we'll follow up to see if there's any updated designs that we can implement while the construction's going on to try to keep cyclists safer along that space. So we'll do a few one-job questions in a row if that works. Can you please do a public presentation on the geothermal infrastructure and what it means? I think we did one before, but we can do another one.
Absolutely, we would love that. We're very proud of the geothermal system, and we're really happy that so many community members are curious and engaged. So we can certainly schedule an event, maybe at the local library, open it up to everybody, and maybe even having a session for kids to sort of also let them know a little bit about geothermal and what we're doing there. So that's something we're very happy to do.
So we'll work to publicize that with you all and make sure that there's an opportunity for a Zoom or in-person briefing sometime soon. Don't get too comfortable. Lend-Lease. There have been multiple instances of workers disturbing neighbors on Java Street, being drunk and high. There's one instance of a worker threatening physical violence. What can we do about it, and what can you do to communicate to them to respect noise levels?
So this is the first time we've heard of that, so thank you for bringing it up. Whoever shared that, if you're comfortable, please come talk to me afterwards so we can get a little bit more information and know how we can collaborate. But obviously this is not behavior that we will endorse or tolerate from any of our staff, and certainly none of the subcontractors on site. So this is surprising and concerning, but something we're happy to look into and collaborate on resolving.
That's definitely very concerning, so please don't hesitate to let our offices know as well. We want to there is contact information here for the developers. We also want you to not hesitate if there's a serious issue going on. If somebody's acting inappropriately in the community, reach out to them immediately, reach out to copy our offices. We want to help make sure that kind of issue gets resolved right away.
One thing to bear in mind is that, we don't control also what people do in their personal time when they've left the job site, right? So that is something where, if you were to encounter anybody doing that, you need to call the appropriate authorities or something like that. So we can't control what people do when they're not on our job site and when they're on their own time. We're responsible for when they are engaged with us, just to keep in mind.
For sure, workers are going to do what they do on their personal time, but if a worker is acting disrespectfully in our community, we want to make sure their employer knows it. So let's just communicate actively, proactively when that occurs. Can we get more details on the Esplanade at One Java? What is the square footage and what amenities will be included? What type of plantings will be going in?
So it might be interesting to have that as part of our geothermal event and just give like a really thorough briefing and maybe invite the landscape architects to come and share their vision. So I think we'll do it that way if that's okay. I don't have stats, but it's beautifully designed. It has a perch, it has open views to the waterfront. There's also a step area where you can actually reach the water, which I think is one of the community's requests during the design. Open, accessible, and there's a very big terrace with 2 restaurants anchoring in on that side, so it should be really exciting and active place to be.
Thank you. I just want to say for the developers who had RSVP'd and failed to attend, such as Halcyon, we will be sending all of the questions that we received for them in writing to them, and when we get answers, we'll send it out to everybody that RSVP'd and shared an email with us, so we'll be getting that back to you as quickly as we can. Keith, I don't know if you're prepared to break news tonight, but last year DOT committed to a full redesign of McGinnis Boulevard. Only 30% at this point is done. DOT said they'd restart in the spring. There was actually a crash on McGinnis today, as you may be aware, McGinnis and Nassau. Is there any update on the DOT plan as was intended for this spring?
No current update on the McGinnis plan. We're still gathering data and looking at the facts and seeing the operation of McGinnis now. We will be making an announcement about what our future plans are when we set aside that day and get back to everyone.
Thank you. I know that everybody in this community, however they may feel about McGinnis, is very, very eager to see it resolved. So hopefully we'll see a safer McGinnis very soon. The next question is for Newhart, and it may be a DEC involved question too. When will the ISS test results be available? Jane, gonna jump in? Thank you, Jane O'Connell. Governor now, she's ready for us all.
Sorry. We actually have the ISS results, Madison's consultant.
What's ISS?
I'm sorry. In situ stabilization. So it's a mixing concrete, essentially with the remaining soil that's flowing the building. We have the results, we are reviewing them, the preliminary review of the data is really positive, I will tell you that. As soon as we have that completed, we still have to finish the, issuing the amended record of decision. We had the public meeting on that a couple of weeks ago. We've completed the comment period, we're gonna get that amended record of decision out, that's our first priority, and we will complete our review of the ISS data, we'll share that with the public.
Thank you so much, Jane. Hope that answers the question. The next question is a general question, so I might jump in. I'll try to answer it if Chris and Dan would like to jump in as well. How is the city planning to accommodate the influx of residents into the neighborhood? Read public transit, general infrastructure, etc. Which I think is the longstanding concern of Greenpoint residents, you know, as our community is growing as fast as any in the city, is the city actually making the necessary investments to meet the needs of a growing community. And I can tell you, I'm generally pretty disappointed with the Adams administration and their responsiveness to our concerns and their follow-through on promises that were made to our community when the Greenpoint Williamsburg rezoning was approved nearly 20 years ago. The critical components, or the critical community promises that were made were new park spaces and a new school. The new school, the School Construction Authority continues to want to move forward with the school at the DuPont site across the street from Newhart, and they're planning to engage the community more in the weeks and months ahead or months ahead on that. And the park spaces that we've been promised have experienced significant delays. We were able to secure all of the funding in last year's budget, an additional $9 million for the new park at Bach Street. So this is the old MTA site at the northern tip of Greenpoint. It's about a $30-something million park project. It's going to be a phenomenal new park for our community. We secured about 90% of the space from the MTA. The MTA is still holding on to a small chunk of it. We're going to get them evicted as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, when the Parks Department and the Economic Development Corporation that are building the park for us were about ready to do the work, they identified additional environmental concerns that required further analysis. And so we've been pushing. I do a monthly call, and I actually had it this morning, with Economic Development Corporation, the Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, and the Parks Department to try to push forward on the testing that needs to happen at Bach Street Park. The testing is happening now. It's almost completed. It'll be going to the lab for the results to be analyzed. And once we have that, DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation that oversees the environmental cleanups, is going to work with us to determine what the plan is to do necessary additional environmental remediation at the site before work can move forward. Until we know the test results for what additional cleanup is needed, we don't have a firm timeline. My hope is that next year is the year that we officially break ground and start construction on the new Bach Street Park. But we'll know more in weeks, and we'll be sure to be transparent and sharing those timelines with the community. And at Bushwick and Park, we faced enormous challenges. Each of our offices do a monthly call with all of the relevant city agencies and state DEC again to try to get the Bushwick and Park project moving as quickly as possible. We have unfortunately hit some real roadblocks with some of the fossil fuel companies that have polluted this site that need to do work to clean it up. Especially Chevron has been wildly uncooperative and has not worked well with the Department of Environmental Conservation and our offices to do the necessary work to clean up their portion of the contamination at Bushwick Park. But I promise you, each of us are working as hard as we can, pushing as hard as we can to get that cleanup done, to get the park moving. The small pieces of good news, I won't call them small, the pieces of good news are that one of the parcels in Bushwick Inlet Park is called the Motiva parcel. This is right along the inlet, kind of where the water comes up to Kent, where Kent kind of turns to Franklin. That park construction has begun. So that's about a month ago, the Parks Department started work on that project, where it's going to be done, but in the next year, that project will be completed. It's a bit ahead schedule. So basically, Bushwick Inlet Park is broken down into a series of different parcels. The other good news is that this fall, the big city storage building where all where Norm Brodsky owned for all those years, we are beginning demolition on it this fall. It should be done, should be gone by the first quarter of next year. And so once that building comes down, we'll do more environmental investigation into the site to assess its conditions and how much cleanup is needed to finally get the park built. So there's, Bushwick Park is its own thing, I can talk about that for the rest of the night, so I will shut up now. But if you want to ask more Bushwick Park questions, I'm here for you. I hope that answers the question. There's on infrastructure needs, I would also just say, we've all, especially Assemblymember Gallagher, has been leading the way and pushing for more G-train infrastructure, more G-train capacity. Emily organized a sign-on letter with Kristen, and the two of them got, I don't know how many, every elected official along the G-train route. Do you want to speak? You want me to keep talking? To extend the I'm sorry, I keep talking about it. It's one of the failures of being a politician. They pushed to get the G-train restored all the way back to Forest Hills, and so we're, as it used to be, and really appreciate their leadership in trying to get the MTA to take that seriously. We're always, we're concerned about infrastructure needs in a growing community. If there are other concerns that people want to raise or talk to us about, we're here and we're ready to help. Okay, sorry, that was a big question, and I apologize for such a long answer. What can be done to ensure developers and management companies maintain the affordable units and associated amenities after completion? As covered in recent news articles, these types of units often go neglected once the tax benefits have been unlocked. I wish Emily was here. Do you want to speak to her 421A audit thing? Yeah, okay, Miranda, great.
Hi everyone, I am not the legislative director, but the little bit I do know is that we just got passed in the budget what we're calling the 421A audit program. 421A being the tax break that developers got to build affordable housing. This new audit program would, and maybe reach out to me after if you're really interested. I can give you the actual details. But the basics is that it would ensure that developers who got tax breaks to build affordable housing are in fact still having the number of affordable housing units that they claimed they would to get their tax break. That's so we got them passed in the budget this past just this past week or two. So we're really excited about that.
That was a huge accomplishment that Assemblymember Gallagher led on, that in the, to get this 421A audit included in the budget. It's been a long-standing complaint. I think the Greenpoint's coverage of 40 Oak is kind of the latest example of it. But for years and years, we've seen this new housing that's mostly market rate, but with some affordable units and promised amenities to the community, and there's just no oversight from the state. It gives out the tax credit to the developers to actually follow through and hold these developers accountable on the things that they promised to us. And this new legislation that Assemblymember Gallagher got done, this was the first bill she introduced when she got elected to the Assembly, and she got over the finish line, is really going to make a difference in holding these developers accountable and forcing the state to audit these buildings and make sure that promises that are made to our communities are actually kept, and the affordable housing and the amenities that we deserve or receive. So it's great. Do any of the development sites include commercial space? And if so, have you considered utilizing that space for a new school in Greenpoint? Maybe I can start with Blake on the commercial space.
So One Java has 14,000 square feet of commercial retail space. We have 2 units facing the water to activate the park and to be part of that Esplanade experience. And we have a line of retail, shallow retail on facing West Street. And that is really sized for local retail. It's not sized for sort of a CVS or something like that magnitude. I think overall, the size is too small to accommodate a school, and that's not part of the program.
I'm going to jump in on some school stuff too, but you definitely.
At 16 Pond, we've only 3,000 square feet of retail, so that wouldn't be large enough for a school, but we actually just started the process of working with the broker to find the space. Personally obsessed with ice cream, so I want to get an ice cream shop in there, but we do love hearing from the community on needs and types of businesses you would like to see in there. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.
Yeah, so at 65 DuPont Street, we actually have on the corner of Franklin and Clay, we're gonna have 3,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor and another 7,000 square feet in the mini cellar. So the retail space won't be big enough for a school, but even as Mark Feller said, we are looking to bring in, a retail tenant that is in, brighten the Greenpoint community and brighten that area.
And I'd just say, if anyone has suggestions of the kinds of retail tenants that would really meet the needs of our community, let us know, and we'll share that with developers and do our best. We've had a lot of success in other parts of our district of bringing small businesses into vacant retail spaces that really meet the needs of the community, like a bookstore or a bakery in areas, in neighborhoods that don't have them. And just on the school piece, we did push the Park Tower group that does the Greenpoint landing sites to consider adding a school on one of their parcels. And they have evaluated the feasibility of that. The mayor's office and the school construction authority ultimately have not approved it. And so we've been trying, I've been trying with my colleagues in government, with Emily Kristen and Congressman Velasquez's office to really identify if any of the development sites in our community could work for the new school as an alternative location, but it does require the approval of the mayor and his team as well. That's been where we've struggled. If anyone would like to discuss that further, we're happy to do so. Stacy Cole from 40 Oak Street. Stacy Cole from 40 Oak Street. We are repeatedly being told that groundwater in our apartments is due to construction. While this may identify the cause, it does not address the problem or identify a solution to the fact that we do not have access to clean drinking, cooking, or bathing water for hours and sometimes days at a time. How are developers in the city going to ensure that my family and neighbors have clean water and don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for bottled water or have to be concerned about what the water may contain? I'll start, and I'd love if the DEP team could help on this one as well. So at 40 Oak, we have, and Kelly, please yell at me if I say something wrong, but our offices have been working closely with the Tenant Association at 40 Oak. The first thing that we did was have the Department of Environmental Protection test the water coming into the building to make sure that it was safe and for drinking and had no issues. And DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, went out and looked at the water that was coming into the building and assured us that it was safe. So that happened a couple months ago. Then, but we continued to, and we asked the developer to flush kind of the water system in the building to try to make sure if there was any residue from construction or something that was causing issues that that could be addressed. Unfortunately, after the developer flushed their systems, they continued to have issues of groundwater at this site. We went back and forth with DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, and our housing agency, yet another addition to our alphabet soup of bureaucracies, the Housing Preservation and Development, HPD, and there was some finger pointing of who was actually responsible for testing the water in the building, and ultimately we determined that it was HPD, the housing agency's responsibility to test the water in the building. And they are going out there this week, is that right? That's Brandon and Kelly are both nodding, so that means it's true, to go out and test the water and issue violations to Halcyon if there are, in fact, problems with the water, which I have to say, it certainly seems like there are. Do you want to follow up on this?
Yeah, because I asked the question, it's intermittent. So like, this is my water from a few weeks ago. This is my water from a few weeks ago. It's intermittent, so, when HPD comes over and there's a hot water issue, which occurs 95% of the time, we feel pretty confident that you're going to see that when you show up. This issue, again, can happen sometimes for minutes out of the day, it can happen for hours out of the day. Sometimes it's been multiple days in a row. And so even the DEP they say, oh, it's construction, it's always construction. And again, that might be the source, but how do we know when this comes clear out of our faucets that it's safe to drink?
I think that would be a great question for DEP. Is there anything that you guys can add on this? gonna the next step is the HPD inspections that are happening this week. We will get DEP involved if we need their technical expertise on the testing.
Can we get them to test water that we collect ourselves if they're not there? to
Is that possible? Can you do testing of water that they collect? Yeah, okay, so can we connect you guys tonight, and Denise is great, we'll solve the problem together. Thank you so much, we really appreciate that, put the part that's on there. Okay, thank you Stacy, thank you Denise. 270 Green, I think this might be a DEC one, for Robbie and Jane. DKN Ready Mix, it's in an M3 zone, 2 major issues. Sound, pumping trucks delivering powder cut cement recorded at 115 decibels as early as 3 a.m., always before 7 a.m. So that's a DEP question on the noise. Secondly is vibration, dropping of van-sized pieces of cement has shaken buildings so hard, debris has fallen from the walls and ceiling. DOB found cracks in the building, but what about source problem? So we've got major vibrations and major noise issues from a DKN ready mix cement facility on Green Street. This is just on the edge of our industrial area.
Well, we haven't received any complaints against either one of us. Yeah. We do, from a residence, we do take pity from people's residents that we monitor. Recommend some medication for the noise, but 115 decibels is very loud. I mean, usually you don't get complaints of that nature, that loud in that location. Or if you can, if somebody wants to make a complaint to the one, they say the one from their location. It takes out to see what's going on. Yeah.
This is what you're looking for. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'll keep that. Thank you. Okay. Good. We're making friends tonight. Well, maybe 2 people out. Are there any permitted projects that haven't broken ground yet that any of the developers represent? How might we have discussions earlier before projects go into active construction? So I don't think these developers have any active projects. I do know that Greenpoint Landing, the Park Tower Group, and their partners are still building more further along West Street toward Green. Further south, I should say, along West Street to Green, and I believe that Brookfield also has projects that they haven't yet broken ground on. We are happy we'll make sure that they're at the next North Greenpoint Construction Task Force meeting, so that people who have questions for them can engage. If there are any specific concerns that you have for their sites, let us know. And we try our best to stay in active touch with the Department of Buildings. When there's a new project, they file permits with DOB. So we try our best to track what new projects are happening. If there are any developers or particular sites that you have questions about or concerns about, let us know, and we can do our best to get a hold of them and get them engaged with the community. And I didn't get to the second question on this piece of paper. 77 Commercial Street, when is the waterfront public access area opening? Surprised to be open before CLO. Surprised it hasn't opened before the CLO was issued. We will follow up with Bishopper or Clipper Realty or whatever at 77 Commercial on their access to the public. I will say that do you have info on this?
Yeah, Ray Builders shared with us earlier this month that they're expecting the waterfront to open up on June 15th. We can definitely follow up to confirm on that closer to June, but that's what they have shared with us.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That's amazing. And if you're interested in a new apartment, I heard that they have 3 bedrooms available for $9,600 a month. Totally fucking unreal. Okay, next one. I think is the hole in the middle of nowhere. I'm not really sure what to do with this, but I assume this is the hole in the ground by 40 Oak. which I promise we're gonna follow with DOB, they're on it, we're gonna work together to get that violations issued on that as quickly as possible and get it addressed. Do we have any other questions? We are losing Senator Gonzalez.
I think, just again, start calling and say you have to run in our Kruger district, another event in Manhattan. A lot of this, I think, are recurring issues, whether it's cracks or like the noise, cracks in foundations or cracks in the walls as a result of like larger trucks going through streets that they shouldn't be going through, or for example, dirty drinking water, or for example, noise pollution that's happening off hours. Again, you know, we're gonna have another one of these, but I do just wanna echo Councilmember Ressler's statements. Like, not only do we want you reporting 301, but we are collating this constantly, so please reach out so we can just start documenting a lot of these things and then practically reach out to developers here. But appreciate everyone's time today, and Elon, who I'm sure is as inspired as he was last time being here, will be here in case anyone wants to reach out to our office. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Senator Gonzalez. We really appreciate you being here, and your team being here. Next question. Will Halcyon be allowed to continue to build more buildings given their current and significant issues? So I think this is a DOB. I don't know if you've been following some of the local reporting, but Halcyon has 2 open buildings in the neighborhood that they've recently completed. There have been significant issues with water quality, as this quote just showed you, and other conditions in the building, elevators not working and the like. Is there any impact that that has on DOB's permitting for future development that they have pending?
Unfortunately, we don't bar certain owners, like you own a property, you go out and develop it. If a certain contractor or licensee who we issue permits to does have a certain number of violations on their not certain, but a lot of violations, we do intend at some point sometimes take away their license or remove their ability to work for us. But I'm not specifically aware about the circumstances here, but the more complaints that you call in, the more violations we issue, and the more enforcement is put against people's licenses. So I do suggest that you have problems, and you see problems with their violations, follow into them right up without them eventually that case against that after.
Thank you, and we will be sure to be working closely with DOB at any future Halcyon developments to try to ensure that the conditions are improved for future residents there. So thank you very much for that thoughtful question. Next up, I'm not told, how much will the rents be for commercial square feet and residential square feet? Don't know if you all have an ability to answer those questions. Do you have any way to try to share some insight into rents for residential or commercial properties, or how you're, any information you can share?
I can say that the summer months certainly really help dictate that. Right now is going to be a difficult time to give you an accurate estimate. I think the summer is going to really tell us a lot more in terms of market reference.
Say for Newhart, is there anything you guys want to add on that? On your rents, residential or commercial space?
We are very early in construction, so we don't set rents now because we're not delivering for a while. So as we approach delivering units, so the affordable housing, so they're the units that are governed by the EIH, those rents are set. So I can send you figures that are to round off the top of my head. That's something that we want.
Okay, sorry, that was probably an unsatisfactory answer from everyone, but I think basically on the market rate units, they're gonna rent them for as much as they can when the market allows for it, and the affordable units, which, there aren't as many affordable units as there should be in these development sites because of the way this was approved about 20 years ago, but for the affordable units, do you guys want to share any insight on the affordable units?
Analyze, please.
Yeah, so at Newhart, we're part of actually 2 HPD programs, one voluntary inclusionary housing, which approximately about 20% of the units would be at 80% AMI, and the remaining 10% will be at 130 AMI, which in total, the 30% of units will be meeting 4.1.
What does that mean?
My AMIs are like
Yeah, AMIs are area median income, so it's basically 100% AMI will be I mean, we can give you the numbers, but basically HPD sets the standard for a studio rent at a certain AMI.
How much is that?
I don't have the numbers offhand, but I'm happy to send them.
I don't have the rents on the top of my head, but we have the same percentages, and our VIH units were set in 2022 rates, and then our remaining units will be set in this year's rates, but again, don't have those rates on top of my head. Oh,
So just to give you a sense for AMI levels, for 80% AMI for a family of 3, it's earning up to $111,000. For 130% AMI, area median income, which I've been trying to introduce legislation to not count 130% area median income as affordable housing, because I think affordable housing should be a lot more affordable than this, but just because, so this is going to upset everybody when I say it out loud, that was my preface. For a family of 3, 130% area median income would be earning up to $181,000. So I don't know who considers that affordable housing, but I will. It's not, these guys don't make a policy. I actually don't. We'll have to, so there was a new tax incentive that kind of replaced the old tax incentive. So I'll try to explain this clearer. In these developments, there's a tax incentive that requires a portion of the housing be affordable. And so the developers get a tax break for 20, 30 years, as long as a portion of the housing that gets built is affordable. The tax incentive that had been in place for many years in New York City that determined how these developments are getting built, many of these developments are getting built, expired. And the state just approved in the budget 2 weeks ago a new tax incentive to continue to spur development with a requirement for affordable housing. So we're going to have to do our due diligence with Assemblymember Gallagher and Senator Gonzalez to try to make sure that the affordable housing that gets built as a result of this tax incentive is actually affordable for our communities. So next question, and I think this is a new, please, sorry.
I just want to take a wrap on the federal level for AMI levels in this metropolitan statistical area, which is HUD actually dictates how AMI is derived. And AMI, area median income, seems like that median is higher than what it really is in New York City local neighborhoods. It's because it's the area median for a metropolitan area, includes Westchester County and places outside of New York City. So therefore, when you have a policy of what is affordable housing, either you could change what the AMI is in the metropolitan area, but we'd have to do that across the country. The Congressman has supported a bill introduced to study how AMI is determined. But one flip side of the coin is that if you have a lower AMI, it also affects the subsidy that people would get for subsidized housing. So if you have a lower AMI, the subsidy would go down too. So we're actually supporting a bill that would actually study this problem. But one solution would be on the local level of how you set what the AMI levels should be, and they should be skewed down because the AMI is skewed up.
That is extremely well said. And the topic of area median income and what kind of truly affordable housing we're getting built or unaffordable housing that's getting built is critically important. Next question, I think this is a Newhart DEC question. Is there a fund for developers to remediate outside of the demarcation of the DuPont site to ensure safety and that the previously promised school gets built? Could I start, Jane, would you start with this?
Yeah.
Please.
Is there a fund from developers to remediate outside? Okay, so for specific to New Hart, the developers who signed a consent order with DEC that obligates them to clean up both the on-site and the off-site contamination from that property. So, their obligation, one of the things that they submitted to us recently is the plan for that off-site cleanup. So, the developers don't have to put, if I'm reading this correctly, they don't have to put up funds for us to do it, they have to do it on their dime. Okay, that's the question.
I hope that answered the question satisfactorily. I think that the city would like to move forward. I think the city continues to be interested in pursuing the school at the DuPont site, and if they, actually try to move forward with that, there'll be many conversations with the community where they'll share information on from their perspective on why that site may be safe. So if that moves forward, I can promise you there will be significant and extensive community engagement and opportunities to ask questions and get answers addressed. Next question. What can we do as a community? How can we organize to try and change these zoning laws? It's evident they were created for greedy developers, greedy individuals, and it seems like the best thing for the community is to try to change these zoning laws. So it's a great question. Thank you to whoever asked it. The Greenpoint Williamsburg rezoning was done about almost 20 years ago. And since this rezoning, there's been a lot of progress, there's been some progress, I'll say, in ensuring that communities get more and better support, get more and better investments in rezonings and redevelopment. So since this time of this rezoning, something called mandatory inclusionary housing was created. And that means that on any site that is rezoned today in New York City, a developer is required to build affordable housing, and at lower area income levels than what we just heard. So more actual affordable housing. And in subsequent rezonings from the Greenpoint Williamsburg rezoning in neighborhoods like Gowanus, or Soho, or East Harlem, we saw significantly more investments in infrastructure in the community than what was promised to us here in Greenpoint Williamsburg. And unfortunately, what was promised to us in Greenpoint Williamsburg, we still haven't secured nearly 20 years later. So I don't think that how things worked here has gone as well as it should, for sure. Moving forward, there are always opportunities to consider new zoning, but a rezoning process in our community is really about, is there a desire to create more housing and where, or change the uses from, in a given area. And so if there's a desire to talk about new rezonings, that's when we have the opportunity to kind of set the terms with developers on how much affordable housing is going to get built, what community investments they're making in our parks and green spaces and infrastructure in schools. That's really the point where we have leverage. And when the negotiations were done nearly 20 years ago, we didn't get as much as we should have for our community, and we're paying the price for it. And I wish that I had a better thing I could say. I don't know. Moving forward, if there are other parts of our neighborhood that outside of the waterfront that could be subject to future rezonings, we'll have to really fight and organize together to deliver a better outcome for the community. I apologize, it's such a dark, not an uplifting response on that, but
Congresswoman Velasquez opposed the rezoning back in 2005.
there were very few elected officials who did. Lady Velasquez was one of the only, who else, was there anyone else who did? I can't think of another person who did. So
Marty Markowitz?
Mark did it? I don't think so. No, definitely not. Marty approved every rezoning that came across like this. We love Mr. Brooklyn. I'm not trying to hate, but you asked, I guess. Sorry, I really do think Congresswoman Velasquez was the only representative of Greenpoint at the time who opposed the zoning, and it's because she could see we didn't get a good enough deal for the community. Do you have a status update on the rezoning of the parking lot next to Eagle B West? No. Eagle and West, oh, that's what's in here, sorry. We don't, I don't know about this, but we'll look into it and get back to you, so if somebody wants to just follow up with us so we can get you more information, just let Kelly know up front and we'll get back to you. I think that is all of the questions that we have tonight. Are there any other cards that people want to submit? Well, I just want to firstly thank everybody for coming out, especially, yes.
Before you close, I just want to speak about how
Good evening, everyone. Really quick before we close. A lot of times, I may get a call from one of the electeds pertaining to a 311 call. It might have been about noise. Work is happening after hours, but the way the 311 complaint is filed is as noise. And then it goes to DEP instead of DOB. Instead of the Department of Buildings, it'll go to the Department of Environmental Protection, and it'll probably get closed out. So what I'm suggesting is when you do file a 311 complaint, the more specific, detailed information, the better that it will get assessed, triaged, and inspected appropriately. Too many times, and I know it can be frustrating, you may say, oh, there's a lot of noise happening on such and such Livingston Street. And that complaint will go to DEP and it might get closed out because it wasn't a complaint that came to the Department of Buildings where it should have said work happening after hours. Then it would come to DOB. So when you file the 311 complaint, it really helps, especially if it's something that's impacting the quality of life, right? And there's work going on and there's banging going on all hours of the night. Those 311 complaints are recorded and documented. And so when you reach out to the elected official and say, hey, this is what's happening, can we do something about it? And they reach out to the Department of Buildings and we do our due diligence, we can say, all right, there's been a lot of community complaints that's recorded and documented, and it helps us really get the results that you see. So I just wanted to really place emphasis on giving specific detailed information so that your 311 complaints don't get closed out, that they get inspected appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. That was really helpful. And Philip does a great job in trying to help and address concerns. So please do let us know when there are issues. There was one more question that we got, which was, could we pursue a community center in the neighborhood, potentially in some of the empty retail spaces? If anyone has suggestions for a location for a community center, please let us know. You know, we'd love to try and explore it together. It's complicated to put the funding together and to find the right space that meets all of the different requirements, but it's certainly an area, we agree that there's a need, so please let us know if you have any ideas for specific locations. I just want to say in closing, thank you all of you for coming tonight and bringing such great, thoughtful questions. I really want to thank the developers for making the time, from Newhart, from Rockefeller, and from Lendlease. We really appreciate you being here. I'm less happy with Halcyon, who said they were coming. They will be hearing from us. And I really especially want to thank our city agencies, DOT, the Department of Transportation, Department of Buildings, Department of Environmental Conservation, and Department of Environmental Protection. We really, really, really appreciate your hard work and your efforts day in and day out to help improve the quality of life in the neighborhood. On behalf of Congresswoman Velasquez, and Senator Gonzalez, and Senator Gallagher, we're going to continue to hold these meetings every 6 months, but don't hesitate to reach out to us if we can help on anything in the interim. Our staffs are all sitting around for a bit, so if you have any follow-up questions, let us know. And I really encourage you, don't get mad at these city agencies, but say hi to the city agency folks if there are any issues you want to follow up on if they're making their way to the door. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening. Take care.
So it's done. I mean, the town hall is done. I'm about to get out of here. It's cold out. Not bad. So take a little selfie. Okay, so it's over. Like a lot more. It's not bad at all, guys. You know what I'm saying? So that was it, guys. And about to log off, about to get out of here. Lincoln wrestler here to help. That's all I gotta say. Way better than last time, to be honest with you. Way better than last